Welcome, Marvelites, to an all-new episode of the MCUExchange podcast. This is episode 22. Double two. Yay! My name is Aaron. I'll be your host for this episode. Alongside me is Joe
Hello.
and Charles.
What's up?
What's up, guys? And also, shout out to our listeners over at Spotify, YouTube, Google Podcasts, Anchor, Breaker, and our new platform, Apple Podcasts. Yay!
Woo.
For all updates about MCUExchange, please do like us on Facebook, facebook.com/the MCUExchange. You can also follow us on Twitter, that's twitter.com/MCUExchange. Let's get right to it. June opened up with a bang, with a bit of a big news right off the bat on June 1. Because according to our friend Charles Murphy of Murphy's Multiverse, Evan Peters, yes, that Evan Peters from X-Men Apocalypse, X-Men Days of Future Past, X-Men Dark Phoenix, the Quicksilver from those movies, has a key role in the upcoming Wandavision Disney Plus series. According to Charles, he has a key role, and he landed the role late last year, 2019, and he filmed his scene shortly after that. Charles, your thoughts about this news, and who do you think is going to play?
Well, I think here's the thing. Me and Charles found out about this. I think November of last year. So we've held on to this secret for so long. We didn't get the green light to actually run it until last week. So having been aware of that Evan Peters was part of WandaVision for a long time, I've sort of just stated the information that he might not be Quicksilver. He might be someone else because Marvel does a good job casting these character actors to play unexpected roles and whatnot. So, I mean, I'm still of the opinion that he would make a very good Nightmare or someone like Mephisto because he does play a good crazy person on American Horror Story. So he has that. The Quicksilver connection is very, very understandable. It's very, very, it's not crazy to think that he might be Quicksilver because it is about the multiverse after all. Man, just thinking about Marvel even acknowledging the Fox stuff when the relationship with Fox has been nothing but contentious. And, as far as I can remember, Bryan Singer wanted to bring Quicksilver into Days of Future Past because they found out the Avengers were using him for Age of Ultron, so they sort of brought their own Quicksilver just to spite Marvel, just like as a fuck you to Marvel, because you think you're the only one who can use Quicksilver, we can use him too, and we're gonna use him in a very important scene. So it's gonna be such a weird thing if they actually make him Quicksilver, but I'm optimistic that he's playing someone else because he is a great actor, and I'd love to see him play like a villain or something.
Joe, how about you? Your thoughts?
I agree with the fact that I think it's highly likely that he's some kind of villain character because he's very good in that role, and I think like they were probably trying. It's a weird thing because as soon as you hear his name, you automatically make the connection with the Quicksilver aspect. So you're like, okay, this can only mean that he's playing Quicksilver, which is not necessarily the case, especially if they're trying to move away from the X-Men that Fox created and trying to set up their own universe and setting up their own incarnations. But at the same time, it's like it's in WandaVision. If this was Doctor Strange, you wouldn't make that connection as quickly. But it's WandaVision where we also have the like rumors going around if the Quicksilver of the MCU will return with Aaron Taylor Johnson. So it's gonna be. I personally hope that they just go crazy and give him both kind of roles. I think that would be a great touch to just be like a nod to the Fox universe, like a cameo. It could be just a really quick cameo, and I actually think it would be hilarious to see both Quicksilvers interact with each other. But I do think giving him a different role because he is a very good actor and he's showcased, especially in American Horror Story, what he's capable of. I'd love to see him be in the MCU, and I think this is a great. It'd be a waste just to be hey guys, remember Quicksilver from the X-Men? Well, here he is. Goodbye, but give him an actual role.
the idea of Peters playing Quicksilver again is an enticing one, for many because after a few days after this news broke out, several outlets have already run theories, speculations about X Men movie universe is part of the multiverse. Quicksilver is the bridge between those two universe. It's unlikely that he will reprise the same role. I agree with you guys because uh, it will cause confusion for some fans,
Yeah.
and I also agree that, and I love how Charles Murphy pointed out in the article that he portrayed terrifying villains from American Horror Story. So that's like a hint that he might be playing a villain. As we all know, WandaVision currently has no main villain. Catherine Hahn's character is rumored to be Agatha Harkness. I don't, is that a rumor or is that confirmed already? So
I
Uh,
think it's still room.
yeah, I think
it's
it's a rumor, but it kind of looks like that she is playing Agatha Harkness at this point.
yeah, there are set photos that there has a Salem outfit in the past few months.
Yeah.
And that, and there's also one possibility if she is indeed Agatha Harkness, maybe Evan Peters playing Nicholas Scratch, the son of Agatha Harkness in the comics.
Right. Yeah. That too. Yeah. Also, it's,
Yeah,
it's kind of weird if they do replace Aaron Taylor Johnson, because it's not like Aaron Taylor Johnson hates the role, similar to Hugo Weaving hating Red Skull. I mean, I'm pretty sure if they ask Taylor Johnson to go back, he would be game, because I mean, let's face it, they kind of wasted him in Age of Ultron. So
yeah,
it is gonna be
Yeah.
weird if they recast him with someone else, because he Taylor Johnson did a pretty good job for the most part, and he's a guy that's willing, so I can see why they just don't bring him back to play Pietro.
Mm.
and I also like your theory, Charles, about him playing Nightmare, the rumored villain, the villain of Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. That shows a connection there between this Disney Plus show and the MCU films, and about the report of Charles is saying that he filmed the scenes shortly after. I don't know how much they film it, or I don't know if he'll come back
Mm.
to reshoot some scenes next month. It's all in question, but maybe it's a brief cameo. It's a glorified cameo, maybe, or like in order to bridge uh, his role in the movies. But I'm pretty sure. But casting Evan Peters is not just for this Disney Plus series. He will jump off to the movies. That's for sure, right?
No.
Right? Yeah, yeah.
That's for
I
sure.
mean, if he,
I,
yeah, if he is Nightmare, then it makes sense for him to show up in the movies as well.
I do also like that, considering while he had kind of a career in films, he's most likely well known for TV with like stuff like American Horror Story. So I do like that they're not shying away from actors that, because like with Chris Evans, they're not shying away from actors that showed up in other superhero films. And I mean, to be honest, this is probably the best way to get people's attention. As soon as you hear that name, it's like, wait, what? Why is he in that? So theories will go. You get some free publicity. So it looks good for WandaVision once it comes out. I'm very curious if this was, how they're going to approach it though, because like with Nightmare, is he going to have a physical body? Is this just him voicing a character as well? If they did it shortly after the casting, because we don't know that either. It could just be that he's voicing the character to make his true appearance in Doctor Strange, especially if they're trying to keep it as under lock and key as they are.
Right.
And I'm very excited for the dynamic between Evan Peters and Elizabeth Olsen, Paul Bettany, and also Benedict Cumberbatch as Doctor Strange. That will be an exciting dynamic moving forward.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. All right. Next up on the list, same Disney Plus series, WandaVision news again. Paul Bettany canceled his appearance for a upcoming Tampa Bay Comic Convention because his cancellation includes uh, oh, sorry. He canceled because he was due to filming for WandaVision. This is surprising news, but I mean, reshoots are a thing in most movies as well as series. But Joe, what are your thoughts that WandaVision's getting back to reshoots?
It's a bit of a tough one because I'm unsure if it's still too early. I do know that in Europe right now they're allowing shootings to happen again. I think The Witcher is also aimed to start in July. But it's really difficult to say. Like I hope it happens because I just hope that when they do the reshoots, they're probably going to be much safer. They're probably going to try to keep their distance as much as possible outside of within these scenes. I'm really just in generally curious how this virus and things that have been happening will generally affect how filmmaking moves forward. And I'm very curious, especially for the Disney Plus series. Like, I've been reading that The Mandalorian is still on track for its shooting dates. So maybe we'll see also a move away for more of the realizing the Unreal Engine 360 camera aspect that they're using for the Mandalorian in these Disney Plus shows as well, because it's more indoor, you have less people, you're more focused on the casting. I'm very curious. But it's good to see that they're trying to get stuff back going. I'm pretty sure Falcon and Winter Soldier won't be far too off either. I'm curious how much they're going to reshoot. WandaVision sounded like it was one of the most finished of the two series. So it's probably like the last few shots they need to get in to finalize it for a release, which we still don't know if it's going to be December, but I'm pretty sure it's still going to be just postponed for a bit.
Charles, how about you? Do you think that these reshoots will have an effect on the upcoming December release date of WandaVision? And who do you think will join the reshoots? Will it just be Olsen and Bethany, or just the whole cast?
Well, as far as we know, I mean, WandaVision got the film more than Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Falcon and the Winter Soldier, they're short a couple of episodes. I mean, they've Falcon and the Winter Soldier, if I'm not mistaken, has filmed most episodes, but a lot of the episodes are still unfinished. Compare that to WandaVision, where I think for the most part they covered everything. So yeah, it's gonna be just a bunch of reshoots. Maybe they finally figure out how to sort of tell the story. I mean, here's the sure thing. Oh, Falcon and the Winter Soldier is gonna be delayed for sure because, like I said, they haven't finished. WandaVision is more complete than Falcon and Winter Soldier. I'm wondering if these reshoots are to maybe change a bit of WandaVision for it to be the first Phase 4 property to introduce again the Phase 4. Maybe they finally realize, oh shit, we can make WandaVision the first MCU property out of Phase 4, but we're gonna need to change some scenes to accommodate this late shift. I wonder if that reshoot is for that specific purpose because if they wrapped a couple of months back, then they are probably ahead of schedule. Maybe they're just making the most out of the I guess the free time they have now. Maybe they can film in some areas in maybe Los Angeles or somewhere else. But yeah, if they do manage to begin reshoots in July, heck, I wouldn't be surprised if they move the release date up a bit for maybe October because we do know that WandaVision has a bit of Halloween sort of
Yeah.
episodes to it. So
Mm-hmm.
it would be great if they could even manage to move it up early to make up for Falcon and the Winter Soldier being delayed.
Interesting. The October release is interesting. It's very timely to that Halloween theme that
Yeah.
you mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
Joe? Oh, sorry. I asked you already.
Well,
Well, back and forth. Sorry. All right. Any more thoughts, guys? All good?
Yeah, we're good.
All
good.
right. Heading over to the next news. Is fresh from the rumor mill yesterday. The Hercules is rumored to debut in an upcoming MCU property, either as on a TV show or a movie. Also, either a supporting role or a lead role in his own project. Charles, if he is going to debut in the MCU, where do you think he will debut? And if so, will it be a supporting role or will it be a main movie?
Mm, what with Hercules, he's never been a favorite of mine. For me, he's been better off as a supporting character as opposed to being the lead of his own comic. I'm sure there are amazing Hercules solo comics out there, but just for me, I got to know Hercules more as a supporting character rather than a solo star. So I think just for me, as far as preferences go, I want to meet him as a supporting character. Um, I mean,
Mm.
there's room for him in She-Hulk, and Eternals seem like the better fit,
Yeah.
but it doesn't seem like he's showing up there. So maybe he could show up in the next Avengers movie. Maybe he could show up in Thor: Love and Thunder,
Mhm.
get that Norse versus Greek sort of rivalry going, to so we can
Yeah.
get more laughs with just imagine Thor sort of arguing with Hercules on who's the better god. It's gonna be super funny
Thor
just
or
thinking about it now. So yeah, I want to see Hercules more as a supporting character.
in the comics, he was an important member of the Avengers, right?
Yeah,
Mm.
yeah.
And one of Marvel's strongest heroes. Interesting. Joe, how about your thoughts about the possible debut of the Prince of Power, Hercules?
You know, Charles, you put me on an interesting idea. He seems like a great fit for Thor: Love and Thunder if the main villain ends up being Minotaur, because that is a Greek character or based on a Greek mythology. So it would be
Oh,
interesting because it just imagine like a rivalry that the both of them are. He's trying to find the Minotaur, and we have Hercules who's trying to blend in, but is absolutely terrible at it because he's probably like just a hulking mass of a man. And then Thor, just though both of them goofing around, it gives someone hit for him to play off if they're in space as well. The thing is for me is that I find that the interesting aspect of the MCU is that with the existence of the Norse gods, it does shake up how we see mythology within this universe. And I think up to this point, they never truly delved too deep into it, which is, I agree, is that Eternals would be a great choice to showcase Hercules because it's more of a mythology based family of characters, let's say. But I have a hard time because I don't think they're going to delve in. Like, I think it would be, if they give him his own show, I kind of think it would be fun to see Hercules trying to just showcase himself being the strongest there is,
Mhm.
and then end up in a fight with Hulk, which would just be a great little fight where he just looks for like the strongest people he's heard of, and kind of explore the mythology within our world. Maybe Fing Fang Foom can show up. Um, but I actually am really liking the idea that Charles you gave me with Thor: Love and Thunder with Minotaur. That would be, I think, probably the most fitting and fun place because he is probably not too dissimilar from Thor. So those two characters playing off of each other could be a lot of fun. But I do, Thor: Love and Thunder already seems very full from a cast perspective. But man, that'd be hilarious. Just looking for the Minotaur, it was a dude the entire time. He didn't notice.
Oh my God, interesting point, Joe. And there's also a possibility that in next year's The Eternals, maybe they could plant some seeds, maybe a cameo, maybe a name drop even.
Mm.
Yeah, that's entirely possible. Charles, I have a question for you before we move on to the TV
yeah.
season pass. Do you think if the Avengers has that weird reaction when they first saw Thor, that he's a god and stuff like that? Do you think that the next crop of Avengers will have that same reaction when they meet Hercules?
At this point, probably not. Um, because they did fight off against Thanos. They've done
Yes.
so many fucking crazy things. They've time traveled, and uh, I guess it would be weird. Not really weird, but it would be a nice sort of scene where they sort of explain the differences between the Norse gods and
Mm.
the Greek gods, the Roman gods, and whatnot. Because at some point they're gonna have to explain the differences of these deities and how they sort of coexist with each other.
Yeah.
Because as far as we know,
Mm.
the Norse gods are in many ways like aliens. They live on, I guess, not really outside of the galaxy, but they live on another plane of existence that I guess resembles the planet. So it's all weird and confusing. But I hope that when Hercules does show up, they have a conversation about it at least.
Yeah. He's not a member of the Eternals, right? He's not.
He's not.
Okay,
No.
not familiar with that. So he's just a god, an Olympian god. That's it.
Yeah, yeah.
Interesting. And that's about wrap it up for all the news in the rundown about a heavily rumored news roundup. And now we move on to an Agents of Shield season TV pass. Where we recap and break down the latest episode of the final season of the ABC show. This episode was bonkers crazy, Joe. It has
Yeah.
it has a lot of MC references. I lost count. Oh my god, so many name drops. And there's a twist about their time travel thing, and also not just connecting to the MCU, but connecting to their own lore. like their own history, own Agents of Shield show history.
Oh yeah, yeah, a lot.
Yeah, and basically, the serum that was seen last week was a key ingredient of the MCU Super Soldier Serum, and it's supposed to be delivered to Johann Smith and or the Red Skull. You know that, guys. Uh, I gasped on that when that was revealed. And Simmons is still a badass in this episode, Joe.
She just somehow Fitzsimmons have the best development in this entire freaking series because they started off like the meek nerds and now they're like kicking the most ass.
From being scared in the first few seasons and now being the badass leader, more badass than Coulson. Oh my god. And, Joe, what are your thoughts on this episode? I've been babbling about it earlier. How about you? What are your thoughts?
So it was I like that they built it. They didn't hesitate and just went with the storyline they had. I'm surprised it ended in that timeline. That was the biggest surprise for me because I thought we're gonna have at least 3 or 4 episodes in this timeline. But it showcases the pace of the series. So it's not wasting any time, but it still gives those like personal moments. I mean, I never thought I'd sympathize with Malik. And it was, I have to say, Patton Oswalt in this episode was fantastic. His reaction on being on the Zephyr, generally just that was cute. I love the just him. Patton Oswalt just has an energy to him, which is always a great thing to see on this show. But I like that dramatic moment he had with Malik, where he's just like, he knew this kid, he wanted to protect this kid, and just he kind of got betrayed. But he kind of developed this interesting friendship. Even though it was a short time span, he had an interesting dynamic and friendship with Enoch, which is also this great, like, that's where the Koenig timeline. So my theory was correct, is that the introduction of the LMDs is through Enoch, or at least through his race within the time frame of the original Koenig. That was a great twist to see. And I have to say the Johann Schmidt thing was great because it also gives more backdrop. I'm a little curious that because in the movie, if I remember correctly, that Erskine was involved in the creation, so I'm not 100% sure how the super soldier serum got over there, even though he probably already defected to the US. That was a little confusing. I'm not sure. I think they purposely left out details to just kind of let you put things together. But otherwise, but great episode. A lot. It showcases where they're going. Like you said, defined that. It's a little further away from Endgame's storyline with time travel. They're creating their own branches, but more like they're closing branches in a way. So they're kind of like they always were meant to be in that timeline. But I gotta say, why the hell do they constantly talk about the future? How did they not learn their lesson?
The thing is, being limited in a certain timeline actually works, because you don't have that freedom, and you see that in the last scene, Joe, when Enoch's running, like he just left there. And man, if that's going to happen next few episodes, what if one of our agents was left behind? That's gonna be a twist. And let's talk about
who's gonna be his own grandparent.
Yeah. Let's talk about Agent May. She's weird in this episode. Ever since episode 1, she's somewhat resurrected, sort of. But when she first saw Coulson, LMD Coulson, she has that. She's cold. She has no reaction to him whatsoever. What do you think of that? Do you think that it's just the effect of the machines, just the effect of being resurrected, or is there something else going on? Because I saw this theory over at Screen Rant that they mentioned that maybe she's possessed by Izel. I don't know. Maybe. Your thoughts?
I don't think it's a Izel possession because even Izel still had a reaction to that face, but she's very cold. And like the thing that got me is like her disregard for anything that's happening. Plus, I love the fact that we got an action sequence with Enoch, which was really well done. Um, I kind of think that the Shrikes have left an impact on May and Yo-Yo, who's also still affected by it with her powers and her fear of using them. But I don't think it's a complete possession of Izel. I would more say that a residual of her might be remaining in her, like cutting off her emotions, or it wouldn't be out there for May to kind of regress to her season 1 version of not wanting to show any emotions at all. Just stick to the mission. She had enough. She was hurt enough. And then kind of like this, great, they brought Coulson back as an LMD. I'm done. I'm out of here.
Yeah, but at least she's still willing to help the team. Like she's still trying to insist
Sure.
that no, I want to go to the field. I want to help out on the mission, or I'll hurt you if you don't let me. but and then she after that intense confrontation or intense reaction to Coulson, she went back to the machine and just willingly, after not being able to willingly go back there during the first time. That's weird. I guess we'll find out more.
She is an LMD too.
Oh no. Maybe I can't wait to see Fitz. I miss Fitz, honestly. It's been 2 episodes. There's no hint of him whatsoever. I hope next episode we get to see him.
Well, the thing is, to me, is like they're traveling through time. They obviously have no choice in how they travel through time.
Yeah.
Where the hell is he? Where would they pick him up? Is he just chilling out in the 1940s?
Maybe chilling out in the future, maybe.
Oh, yeah. I was reading a joke commentary the other, because Ian De Castecker was in the Overlord, the zombie World War II film. It's like, oh, that's canon now because he's stuck in the 40s.
Yeah. And I love the Coney connection. It explains a lot when you rewatch the season 1, season 2, and then get a sense of he's an LMD. I know that he's an LMD. But and going back to that first season, when the first Agent Koenig died, he has blood. Do LMDs have blood, or it's just just to cover
actually
up,
never confirmed.
Yeah, it's just to cover up, the machine thing. It's like maybe a goo or something.
I think in the comics they did bleed. I mean, you can correct me there, Charles, if I'm wrong, but I remember seeing scenes of LMDs bleeding in some form. So it's easier to cover up. If he bleeds green, it's going to be very obvious, or gray. But it was I think the LMD kind of thing was just because the Koenigs all look the same. So that was pretty much just the basis of, they have to be robots then.
What do you think that Agent Coulson will be, after the mission? Do you think he will be shut down, or do you think that he will go back with the team, live with May? That's gonna be weird.
If this weren't the final season, I'd say they'll try to keep him around. But I wouldn't be surprised if he is deactivated and put into some kind of storage, just like he says, in case anyone needs me, I'll be there. It's such a tough one because if we're talking about like if Marvel Studios didn't take over the TV division, I wouldn't be surprised if he would have been like a connection between different shows. But now I'm unsure if the character of Coulson will, end with this season. Like, well, he's still officially dead in the original timeline that was never talked about or used as a storyline element, except if like there's rumors about connections with a Sword TV show on Disney Plus. So it's hard to say, but I think it would be fitting to kind of have another spy farewell at the end of the season. Just everyone going their own way. I think that would be the perfect way to end this, even though I still believe season 5 had the perfect ending.
Yeah, totally. Same. And I have 2 more points to figure out here. Ernest Koenig, the Koenig from the past, is the first character from the time travel adventures to enter and be fascinated with the Zephyr. So do you think that there will be more characters that will, enter that ship, and it has a possibility of disrupting the timeline? I don't know if they can risk that. Do you think that there will be more characters who's gonna be in the same place as Ernest Koenig, knowing about Shield, knowing about the future, knowing about everything in the timeline?
I do think we're gonna see a few more people on the Zephyr. I mean, it's a great set; they're not gonna waste. I'm unsure if the problem is this joke could get old really fast because everyone's gonna have the same what technology.
Yeah.
I'd be okay if they have one like where they're in the future, like 2099, which would be a great like comic reference, and just the character who's on their ship being completely underwhelmed. So that'd be like a nice kind of closing bow on that joke. Oh, this we had this since 50 years now. What are you guys talking about?
Yeah. And lastly, the preview of the next episode features Daniel Sosa as the guest star.
Sosa.
Yeah, it's so awesome. And they're the 1950s, 1955, 56, late 50s, because Area 51 already exists. So it will be interesting. I'm excited to talk about it.
I'm excited. For me, Area 51 is also the best point. I mean, it's such a cultural location at this point that, you know, whatever it truly is. But like this would be a great way to introduce the Kree that would become the life essence to bring back Coulson. And I think this is the time to do it.
Yeah.
Because why go to Area 51 if they're not going to introduce the cliched characters of aliens? Like, that's the whole point in any story for Area 51.
Yeah.
Or they'll tease us and there's Area 52.
Oh my god. And they're trying to retrieve a space weapon. So I'm curious if that has something to do, again, with the MCU. Who knows? It's a long shot that it's the Tesseract.
But let's be honest. That last preview was so misleading with the explosion of Triskelion, which I was like, where was that? Wait a minute, you guys tricked me.
Yeah, the Triskelion exploding is no scene whatsoever in the previous episode. Maybe in the next few episodes.
I actually thought that was going to be the post credit tease. Like, they just literally end the episode with it getting blown up, and everyone's like, wait, what the hell?
I wonder what's the overall effect of that to the entire timeline.
Can't just wave that off.
Yeah. So, great episode. What's your verdict? Is it 1 out of 5? What's your verdict for this episode? Mine is 4, 4.5. 5?
I'd also with a 4.5. My only what bothers me a bit is that they're time traveling and they're time travelers and they're constantly talking about the future or like telling people in their face, "Oh, father of." It's like, what the hell? But it's kind of a funny quirk for these characters that kind of. The thing is in the first episode they made this whole big spiel like don't change the timeline, but then keep spilling the guts on it. So that's kind of one thing where they're not really staying consistent. That I says, okay, it's not a perfect episode, but it's still very good. And the pacing it's what you expect from new Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. It's fast, but a lot of happens. And there's still some downtime moments with some great character stories. Plus Daisy, that's one drawback is I have the feeling they kind of reset Daisy's character every other season. Because once again, there's she's like, I follow the orders. I believe in you. Shoot him! Just shoot him! Oh, I was told you have to shoot him. It's like, where the hell did that come from?
He's the character that's been really had that reset, from the first episode, and then she's going to be a badass in the last few episodes. That's like Daisy being Daisy.
Yeah, it's a bit of a trope at this point.
Yeah,
like Fitz disappearing every season.
That's like a norm already for the show. And I just want to give a shout out to that one cheesy MCU one-liner from Enoch. That one line, he said to Agent May, "You are far from home, Agent May." Oh my god.
Cheesy. Because that's how people talk.
Yeah, super cheesy. You're a robot, Enoch. What do you talk like that? Anyway, for any more thoughts about the episode, you can follow us on Twitter at twitter.com/MCUExchange. And also, you can, if you have any more questions about this episode, head over to our Twitter. You can also like us on Facebook when we post this episode at facebook.com/TheMCUExchange. You can follow me on Twitter. That's twitter.com/Aaron Chino. It's AERONCHIN. Oh, you can also follow Joe on Twitter.
I'm at that Albel, THATABERL.
And also Charles. You can also follow Charles on Twitter.
You can find me on Twitter at CFS Villanueva.
On that note, this has been another episode of the MC Exchange podcast. Keep safe to all our listeners, and see you next time. Bye.
Yeah.
Bye.
And